Well, as you know, the full Conservative contest is now in full swing. We've got the order of the contestants. They are now out there trying to woo and, please the crowd. And we'll see who drops out sort of first. I am still thinking Mel Street is going to be the first one, or Mel Stride, sorry. I still think he's going to be the first one to drop out. There is someone who I think severely overestimating, I think, his chances. Very, 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 very much so, I think. So, yeah, I think he's going to be the first one to drop out. But what about, of course, our front runner? The person who is pretty much predicted, even by myself. Again, I think if she makes it to the final two, it's her contest to win, unless something drastic happens. But of course, we now know that, Bob Blackman, aka good old Bob out there, being the referee, saying, well, if you commit a blue on blue, then it's a yellow card and a strongly worded letter. As if that's going to stop people from doing this. I don't think it will at all. But in the past sort of week or so, we've had a couple of things that have, shall we say, come out, especially about Kemi Badenoch, which I don't think should be too surprising, because it now would not surprise me if you saw other things come out about, like, James Cleverly, maybe even Priti Patel, about their time in government. Because we covered last week, or at least we just mentioned, that Kemi Badenoch had saying that her rivals had released an attack document about her. And now people like, as we're going to see in a moment, The Guardian and other people have been looking into some of these things. And it turns out some of them are true. I mean, there's bullying accusations going on. Department of Work and Business. So I was going to say Work and Pensions then. Business. So yeah, Business and Trade. Those are insane. If you've seen some of the things, they talk about how, like, there's this just atmosphere of fear that if civil servants sort of went to talk to Kemi Badenoch or anything like that, they were like worried that they would like be shouted at by her for like telling her things and stuff like that. So there was this protocol that they'd have to have, like, at least more than one person in the room, because they were sort of so terrified of, like, either her losing a rag or like him, or like another person in the room being like, shouting back at her. That's how worried they were about all the situation. And bear in mind, one of the things that we have talked about, and that has even come up by other Conservatives, is that attitude by Kemi Badenoch, that when she is questioned or put under any sort of pressure, she does not end up performing well. And if you are going to be leader of the party, and of course be representing your party at things like, PMQs and things like that, you have to sort of really put on a good performance. And there's a lot of worries by, Conservatives and like Conservative MPs that if Kemi Badenoch does get this, that all Keir Starmer would have to do is just poke the bear just a bit, and off she'll go. And that it just will not make not only her look good, but the rest of the party as well. So that's something probably to, if she does make it to the final two, and if she does win, I am fully expecting us to be talking about for quite some time, like, Kemi Badenoch's, like, exploding in PMQs and all kinds of stuff. But like I say, the Guardian and the bullying accusations about what some of, like, these civil servants went through, yeah, pretty insane. But gets even more interesting, because now we've got these coming out. in The Guardian as well, because it turns out, obviously, after that came out as well, out these come. So Kemi Badenoch asked to use taxpayers' money to pay for a holiday flight, sources now claim. So officials for the Department of Business and Trade ended up booking her travel to Texas for a family holiday in February of last year, sources have now claimed, although the former cabinet minister covered the cost herself. The ministerial code states that ministers are expected to uphold the highest standards of propriety and must not ask civil servants to act in conflict with their own code of conduct, including with public funds. Badenoch travelled to Mexico for an official visit to discuss the UK's bid to join the CPTPP bloc, of which Mexico was a founding member, as well as a bilateral trade deal with the country. And her business class flight was there covered by her department. But before traveling, she asked the Office of Business and Trade and Permanent Secretary Gareth Davis whether the department would pick up the bill for a flight to Dallas, where she was having a holiday with her family, as the overall cost was lower than a business class return from Mexico. So, yes, that would be using public funds to say, oh, I'm just flying back to the UK on a business class flight. But in reality, I'm actually using that money to go to a different stop. Her request was refused amid concerns that a taxpayer funded detour would be very hard to explain unless it was used for official business, even if the flight was cheaper. The Department of Business and Trade said that it was normal for permanent secretaries to advise on what was appropriate. Um, so so a source close to Badenoch said it had been due to fly to Texas for an official state visit with Governor Greg Abbott for another, pointless trade deal with an individual state, which you can't do. Well, it's again pointless piece of paper because it's a deal of understanding and doesn't really mean anything. It's just a worthless piece of paper with two signatures on it. However, evidence now seen by The Guardian does suggest that the former minister did indeed ask the department to try and find a way to fund the flight, even when there was no official reason for the trip. Badenoch's private holiday came within days of the Trade Department merging with the Business Department. Another senior departmental source also claimed that Badenoch had used her official ministerial car, paid for by the taxpayer, to take her to the gym in Knightsbridge twice a week on the way to work, leaving the driver now waiting outside for an hour each time. She would also use the governmental car to use her car to travel to a parliamentary seat on Fridays for consultancy work and local political events. The ministerial code states that ministers are only permitted to use government cars for official business and for travel between home and the office. If they are used, time to work, and not time when travel arising from either party or even private business. So, yeah, lots of dodgy stuff going on here. And I have to wonder now whether these are also questions you're going to see come up in any debates that we might see happening in and around some of this stuff. But like I say, it gets even worse, gets into this the atmosphere going on here as well. So departmental insiders also claim that a request to now book and pay for flights was a very typical way in which Badenoch dealt with civil servants. The Guardian revealed on Tuesday that she had been accused of creating now an intimidating atmosphere in the department, and some former colleagues describing it now as toxic. The former also minister also allegedly admitted in meetings that she had asked taxpayer funded political advisors to go to her home in southwest London to pick up her suitcases for work trips abroad. Soso also said that she paid a compliment to one aide in front of colleagues for their aptitude in packing. That is a complete waste of civil servants. You do not use civil servants like a PA. Like you just not use it like a PA, and then it gets even more weird, even weirder, because you have one source also claimed uh, to now have shown colleagues Orlang snow boots, which cost more than over £200 a pair, which she had bought for Badenoch's trip and would to the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. So now she's using civil servants to be sent out on shopping trips. Just and and this is the person quite likely the Conservatives are going to pick. And bear in mind, if it was such a bad toxic atmosphere, just here it is. Here's the stuff, because I think this is worth covering just quickly as well. Badenoch accused of bullying staff and traumatizing staff. This is some of the all other insane stuff as well. So at least 3 officials have now found her behavior so traumatizing that they felt they had no other choice but to leave. So that's how bad the atmosphere was. It was so bad they had to leave because they felt it was just so traumatizing for them. Morale was apparently said to be so low in the Department for Business and Trade last year that senior officials thought it necessary to now address the concerns by holding a work culture during an official town hall meeting. Sources also alleged that 3 senior officials in Badenoch's private office felt, in effect, pushed out by what they claim was now bullying and traumatizing behavior by Badenoch during the 17 months that she ran the department before the Conservatives lost the election. Badenoch is now flatly denied behaving in that way. Um, here's the one. They've also said to have, quote, dreaded meetings as they claimed that individuals were now regularly left feeling humiliated by Badenoch and reduced to tears afterwards on a handful of occasions. One departmental insider said it was normal for people to, quote, lose their rags sometimes, but claimed that Badenoch's treatment could often come across as a sustained and personal. Yeah, these are insane. Some of these allegations that are coming out, and of course, I think this is part of that attack document, and I think this has caused now um, journalists to go looking in, to these departments, finding out, hey, what happened here? Is this true? Obviously, there will have to be like an official investigation, but we've seen, if you remember, the not too long ago, where there was that where she was getting grilled in by her sort of her fellow own colleagues, by her own fellow Brexiteers, and they were saying to her, or kept on putting pressure on you, why aren't you getting rid of all this red tape? Why aren't you getting rid of all these EU regulations? And she turned around and had a go at them and said, I will not become an arsonist. And if you remember, those Brexiteers came out of that meeting and said she will never be leader. So we'll see if they follow through, or at least try and follow through on on that during this leadership contest. But I'll tell you what, throughout this contest, I can guarantee you this now: these allegations of bullying, this toxic work environment, those claims of what was happening in ministers, treating the civil servants, you can almost guarantee Priti Patel, James Cleverly, Tom Tugendhat writing their attack lines. Hey, you can't have personal blue on blue attacks, but hey, you can bring up how someone acted in office, because I'll tell you now, anyone who wants to win has to beat Badenoch. That means they are going to all go after her. They're all going to go after it, and I can guarantee you, all these things that you are seeing here going to be used as ways to try and attack her. So we'll see if we'll see if Bob, shall we say, pulls a yellow card, or whether these are going to be attempts to try and, shall we say, poke the bear to get a reaction from her, so that she's the one who ends up getting a yellow card. We'll see what happens, but oh boy, Yeah, allegations like this going into a leadership contest, not a good sign, I think, for Kemi Badenoch. These are going to certainly be thrown at her during the leadership contest. And of course, then how does she react to that? And bear in mind, she does not have a very good track record for, shall we say, being put under pressure. So we'll see what happens, but I'm expecting some very explosive debates over the next coming weeks. So we'll see what happens, but oh boy. Yeah, volcano explosion, Mount Badnock, as we'll call it. But this is could be about someone who they're about to be elected as elect as leader. Like I say, if she makes it the final two, it's her contest to win. But we'll see if she makes it there. So, as always, let me know what you think down below in the comments. And of course, as always, you can click the like and the share button. And of course, as always, there's links down below in the channel to in the doobly doo to help support the channel. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, we'll see you all next time.